Hi, my name is Kevin Thomas, W1DED. Today I have Philip Springer DK6SP. Philip's been on the show before. I'm really excited to have him back. When I talked to him the first time, it was clear that Philip is part of a new wave of youth operators that are going to be doing big things in ham radio. Today he's here to talk about his DXpedition to 8R7X. Philip, thanks for joining me again.
Hey Kevin, pleasure being here again. Looking forward to our interview today.
So Guyana, tell me why Guyana, and out of all the places in the world you could have gone to, why did you and your team choose to go to Guyana?
It's actually a product of another DXpedition. A few years ago I was in Mauritius at 3 Bravo 8 Mike together with my good friend Jamie M0SDV Sugar Delta Victor from England. He was trying to get to Guyana basically back in the days since 2019. He already had a license issued, but it never happened due to COVID. And then sitting together at the bar after CQ Worldwide CW, we discussed what is next. He brought up the idea, hey, Philip, listen, I have this call sign there in South America. Shall we check it out again? And I said, sure, I'm down. Let's do it. And this is basically how everything started once again. After 2019, everything from then is history, I guess.
It seems as though all the best decisions in ham radio are made after a contest or after a hamvention. That's what I keep hearing over and over again. Drinks afterwards, and all of a sudden this contest superstation is born, or in this case, a trip to Guyana. So tell us about Guyana. Just place it geographically for us and tell us a little bit about that country.
It's basically in South America, the Q Zone 9. I always wanted to operate from a 9 to be able to do 599 in a CQ Worldwide, which actually also happened during our stay for CQ Worldwide 160, SSB back in the days. But yeah, Guyana is also known as formerly British Guyana, as there were also two other Guyanas. Today, Suriname has been Dutch Guyana and also the known French Guyana, Fox Yankee. So these three Guyanas form three countries on the northern shore of South America. It's a big country, basically, though most of the people live on the north shore due to being near to the ocean, to the sea, though also a lot of mangroves, a lot of jungle down in the south. We also chose to stay in the northern part to be having some space also for antennas and don't have to play within the jungle, let's say, and have some space. Yeah.
And what kind of ham radio activity has happened there traditionally?
Traditionally, there is not much around these days. For our knowledge, there are only two licensed amateur radio guys down there. First of all, Raj, 8 Radio 1 Radio Papa November, most loyal contact down there. He has helped a lot with our DXpedition, as well as 8 Radio 1 Alpha Kilo, who is active every now and then, but these are basically the only two. Back in the 90s, there was a lot of activity by US hams, also by Finnish hams, together with Raj mainly, and they made a contest station down there, operated regularly. Apart from that, only a few obtained a license during the years. 8R1/home call, made a few 10,000 QSOs. But the demand was definitely there.
And can you refresh my memory about the most wanted status of Guyana?
So we actually searched for a top 100. So it was placed around that. I think it was 105 when we initially started. The top 100 status is also one of the things to get funding of the foundations from the clubs. So this was also one thing we definitely wanted to consider while going ahead and plan this DXpedition to Guyana.
And although you weren't involved with the licensing process, and it sounds very fortunate that somebody had a license already, what was the process that he went through to get that license?
So back in 2019, it was pretty straightforward. Jamie being an English citizen and ex-English colony down there, it was pretty easy to just send his license, his security status in the UK, so some security paper about himself. That was about it. So he obtained the license through this, but then the license is only valid for a year, or was valid for a year back in the days. So we contacted the telecommunications authority down in Guyana once again in 2022. The talks were quite fruitful, I'd say. We were in good hopes to receive a license, but suddenly they said no more licenses. So this is also what you can face while having the expeditions ongoing. But we didn't lose faith in humanity, let's say. And then that's when we met Raj through a friend of ours, and he was our local contact. He went many times into the office, and in the end, we actually even got 8R1DV, Jamie's call sign renewed, as well as got the 8R7X special event call sign for our DXpedition back in February.
So clearly one of the lessons here is to try to make friends with the ham radio operator in the country so they can give you a hand.
That is 150% true. And it's not only about the friendship, it's about the community, it's about the network you have within amateur radio. It's just amazing who you meet during these national gatherings, international gatherings, not only on the bands, but also in person.
Well, it's got to be incredibly difficult to plan any of these trips from a distance unless you have that contact. And the next question I have for you is, how did you find the QTH?
This was also a good process, to be honest. This QTH was our fifth in the end. We have initially booked an Airbnb, which also Raj, 8R1RPN, scouted for us. He went there with a friend, took some drone shots for us to see what's going on actually, because if we went with our equipment down there, nothing would have happened. We could have probably set up one beam, one vertical, and that's it. As he was going there, we got this information quite ahead of time, so we could actually deal with it. So he searched for a few other properties around. We had a few more options, but all after some time declined in the end. So a good friend of Raj actually had this weekend house of himself available. Nobody was staying there since COVID. He just renovated it for other usage afterwards. So he said, why not come here? I have the space, I have the land. Raj went there, did some drone shots, and we had definitely a lot of space there to set up everything. There was even power, which in this certain part of the country is not given, definitely.
Philip, tell me more about the criteria you were looking for. Clearly, you needed enough land to put up a number of antennas. Sounds like power was a plus, but what are the other things that you and the team were seeking in a good QTH?
What we were looking for is a QTH, of course, near the ocean, near the sea, to get not only better propagation, but also a better location for our antennas directly near the sea or within the sea. Though you probably have this picture later in the presentation, there is no real beaches. There's only mangroves, from what we have seen at least. And so this makes it really difficult. So we wanted to be near the sea, though not too far inside. So also the travel is not too far from the airport. So once we landed in Georgetown, Guyana, it was actually an hour and a half drive there. So we wanted to reduce the drive time as well, to be on the air as soon as possible once we're there. And so this location was only around 10 kilometers off the shore, which was good for our antennas as well as reducing the travel time. So this was actually the best QTH we could get with the given circumstances.
So let's talk about equipment. Obviously, as you're playing a DXpedition, you can go in many different directions. I know this was an all-band, all-mode effort, but what did you and your team decide upon generally from an antenna and equipment standpoint?
We, being 4 operators, wanted to have 4 high-power stations so everybody could play at any time. In the end, every one of us did around 17, 18 hours a day of shifts, with small breaks in between for food as well. So we wanted to have at least 4 stations with us. This was the first circumstance given. Then we wanted to have as many single band antennas as possible as well. So we brought a lot of verticals for the low bands, 160, 80, 40, 30. And also we brought 3 of the high band Yagi antennas, which were 2 spider beams. 1 spider beam and 2 hex beams. And we also took the decision to triplex the spider beam to get the most out of it once the high bands were open. So 4 of these stations could be on the high bands simultaneously.
Did you bring all the equipment with you? Did you have some shipped ahead of time? What did that process look like?
So all over, it is around 350 kilograms of equipment, distributed among 12 suitcases and 4 hand luggage. As I said, distributed among 12 suitcases. We have brought everything with us from either Munich, which was 11 suitcases, and 1 from London Heathrow. So Jamie came from London Heathrow. and everything was with us. We wanted to minimize the risk to lose anything through freight up front. So we wanted to have our equipment with us at any time. And this is actually a good thing. Nothing was ever lost. So everything was actually with us anytime. We then pre-checked everything at the Munich airport a day in advance of the departure. We got the customs clearance, went through Miami airport, flew down to Georgetown, Guyana, made the custom clearance once again. This was also made up front, so we sent all the serial numbers and stuff to minimize the risk again, and then arriving in Georgetown and going to the QTH. So 350 kilograms of equipment. Once you have to handle this through an airport, you know what you have done in the end, definitely.
So you arrive in Guyana, you've got all your equipment, all the luggage. Sounds like about an hour and a half drive to the home that you've rented. Tell us about that home. You said it was a vacation home for somebody down there. What was that like?
Nowadays, it's a vacation home. Back in the days, it was like a weekend relaxation thing. There was also a bar, which was not open on the property, actually. Only the gardener and his wife and his child lived on the property to take care of the garden. And this was actually the house. We have rent the whole thing. So on the upper floor, there were our bed to relax. And on the ground floor, only the kitchen and shack.
So obviously there's a lot of space there for antennas. Give us a rundown of how much space you actually had and what was behind the decision to distribute the antennas the way you did.
The property was around 210 meters long and 40 meters wide. We have distributed a lot of antennas. We have also gained permission from the neighbors to set up beverage antennas outside the property. So we went ahead and brought antennas, as pointed out before, for 160 and 80 on a 22-meter spider pole, which was functioning for 160 within an L configuration and quarter wave for 80 meters, switchable. We also had with us a L antenna for 80 meters suited on a 12-meter spider pole, which was relocated actually a few times throughout the process to minimize any interference between the stations. We have also brought a 40-meter quarter wave with us on a 12-meter spider pole. The 30-meter was on a quarter wave was on a 12-meter spider pole. This for the low-band antennas. We have also brought a DX Commander multi-band vertical, which was working for 40 through 10. And then as mentioned before, the three main high-band antennas covering 2 hex beams, 6 through 20 meters, as well as a spider beam, our basically best antenna for the high bands, having a 4-element on 10 and a 3-element 15, 3-element 20. This antenna was also triplexed in the end to have the most gain on these bands as well. For the low bands, outside the property, we had 2 reversible beverage on ground systems, and these were to EU as well as Whiskey 7 and JA, and the reverse direction accordingly.
So it seems like a lot of antennas for a DXpedition of 4 people. Was that purposeful, and did you use all of the antennas?
We wanted to be as flexible as possible. If something fails, we have a backup, because in Guyana there is nothing. We cannot get coaxial cable, for example. We need to have it with us to be timely flexible, to do it on site, don't need to go to the town, acquire things. It was also because you have to divide between day shift and night shift. On the day, as said, the high band antennas were the 3 beams, which were definitely always in use, split among the 4 stations, one being on a hex beam, the other one on the other hex beam, and 2 on the spider beam. In the night, you did not share any antennas. So one was on 160, one was on 80, one was on 40, one was on 30 in the worst case. Of course, high bands were open throughout the night as well, but as mentioned, we wanted to be as flexible as possible to get all the openings throughout the day.
So Philip, do you have any thoughts on the comparison between the spider beam, hex beam, DX Commander?
Of course, it's difficult to compare a vertical with a horizontal antenna. Though DX Commander was our first antenna up, we did the first QSOs with the DX Commander as we were able to build it within the house during the night. We just deployed it in the morning and we're straight QRV on the bands. Jamie M0SDV did the first QSO, had the honor to do the first QSO on 17 CW. So he was set on the station, and the other three of us were going ahead and set up the rest. As we had a lot of preparation weekends in advance, we definitely knew how to deploy hex beam and spider beam, and we're really quick. We just needed the four of us to get the masts up, the aluminium poles, and the rest was done within minutes. Let's say it was less than a day in the end to get all the antennas up. So just after the arrival, around 3 a.m. in the morning, our first day in Guyana, we arrived. We were totally exhausted after the more or less 24-hour travel, hauling around the 350 kilograms of equipment by the four of us only. We have emptied all the suitcases, checked for any damage. Some things were damaged. We repaired immediately. With no problem. We took everything with us, from the soldering iron to tools. Everything was within the suitcases as well. And then built the stations on the table. All the radios, all the amplifiers were connected already. So we were ready to start in the morning when the antennas were deployed to go ahead and get everything going. Then nobody really wanted to sleep because we were at the QTH now. We wanted to do something, but we couldn't due to the nights. A lot of mosquitoes were around. We had to wait for the morning. Which was not too far away, but we still wanted to do something. Sven DJ4MX had the pleasure to wire our electric system within the QTH. So in advance, we talked to Raj, 8R1RPN, about our needs. The house actually was put on power just about half a year ago, so mid of 2023. So we actually had good power connection. So we said, okay, we will have 4 radios with us, 4 high power stations in the end. We want 4 circuits, if that's possible. So they said, no worries, don't you worry. We will take the electrician down there. He will make you 4 times 20 amps circuits. That's no problem. You got the 60 amp house breaker, and you got the switch on for the generator, which is also on site. For backup, a 10 kVA generator. We agreed on just bringing our European Shuku connectors, to not having to deal with any adapters, and directly wire these on the 20 amp circuits each. So Sven DJ4MX took the honor, wired everything up, and the stations were ready by 5 a.m. in the morning. I think 6:30 was the sunrise, so everyone got an hour of sleep, and then we went ahead straight to the antennas outside and deployed everything within a day.
Definitely an advantage to being young, Philip.
So for the so-called beast antenna, the 160 and 80 meter antenna fitted on a 22 meter spider pole, we got a little bit of a tuning box ready and brought it to Guyana with us. Some of our local German helpers, I want to name 2 of them by name, Delta Juliet 5 Mike November, Bernie, and Roger DL5 Radio Bravo Whiskey, basically calculated our antenna and made this tuning box available for us, which has a big vacuum capacitor and a coil within. So we were able to actually tune the beast within the L configuration for 160, as well as for 80 meters as a quarter wave. Until arrival, we were not sure if 60 meter would be granted throughout our stay. So this antenna could have also been deployed on 60 meters through various combinations of L and C, but also 40 meter could be covered. So we were once again very flexible with this box, which could easily handle 4 kilowatt. But of course, we didn't carry 4 kilowatt amplifiers with us. So also here we were safe with the max 1 kilowatt output here, according to the license. And together with this box and a earth of around, let's say 500 meters of radials underneath this antenna, this was the beast on the low bands. And I think we have been very loud across the world. We worked every continent basically with this configuration, 160 and 80. So it was definitely a big success bringing this equipment to South America.
Philip, if you would, go down through the list of team members and a little bit about their background.
Among the team members were Tomi, Hotel America 8 Radio Tango. He is a Hungarian citizen, currently living and working in Helsinki, Finland. He was back when we were in Guyana 25 years of age. He is all mode, so he does CW, SSB and Digimodes. He is basically a IT developer. He's writing a lot of code in his time at work. So he's definitely our website and network guy. So having this checked. Also among the team was Delta Juliet 4 Mike X-Ray Sven. Back in February, he was 21 years old. Also, once again, CW, SSB, and Digi capabilities. He is currently studying mechatronics at a university in Munich, so he's a German citizen. Also among the team is Jamie, Mike 0 Sugar Delta Victor. He was in February 23 years of age. Once again, CW, SSB, and the Digi guy. He's working for the UK government. And myself, Philip DK6 Sugar Papa, also co-lead among Jamie. I was 26 years old back in February when we went to Guyana. I'm currently working as a project manager within the automotive industry. And this is basically our team with all the things the people know. We definitely made up a great team. As I said or mentioned earlier, Tomi as our IT guy, Sven as our hardware guy, Jamie and myself as the project leads, as well as the planning leads, bringing all the equipment, the logistics. With my background, that I studied logistics back in the days, I took care of that. Jamie did the financing stuff. So we made up everything with the 4 people only, though we had a lot of support from local guys around, not only within the preparation phase, but having this as our first ever DXpedition of our own without having Elmer's support. We asked a lot of advice, and people were definitely willing to give that for us, which was a big pleasure to have. Not only the Elmer support, but also the foundations and clubs, how welcoming they were, supporting our endeavors down there in South America.
Philip, you had mentioned earlier that each one of you had your own station. Tell me about the equipment that you had at each one of those stations. Was it the same for every station, or was there some uniqueness based upon the operator?
So we tried to acquire our own equipment as much as possible. We didn't want to be reliant on any equipment that might be borrowed or is not being lent or whatever. So we approached, or let's say we gathered together and said, okay, what equipment is available? One of the pictures you have shared earlier, there is a K3S pictured, which is my radio, which was already in the shack. So I took this because it's a great radio. For the amplifiers, Jamie owned Expert 1K3 amplifier, which was going anyways. And from this point, we just gathered some information, what is possible, what can be taken. And for the rest, we tried our luck and contacted our partners, let's say, our sponsors. So we were very lucky to get DX Engineering as well as ICOM USA aboard on the project. And ICOM USA, together with DX Engineering, sponsored 3 times ICOM IC7610s for us, which were really good radios down there. We also got 5 power supplies off DX Engineering. We also got an antenna analyzer to measure all the antenna gear down in Guyana, and also for preparation already. But we also got an amplifier from ACOM, for example, ACOM 500S, because before it was even available in the stores. So the foundations, sponsors, commercial and individuals, they were really, really welcoming and just said, what do you need? You already got the plan to go, but what do you need? Let us know and we will take care of it. And this was such a relief in the end, because having so much equipment in need to take for 4 stations is a bit of a burden in the beginning, but having this involvement, very strong involvement of these supporters like ICOM USA, like DX Engineering, ACOM, and many, many more, definitely relieved us in the end, and we were able to put out great signals through this equipment which was given to us. Yeah.
And what about logging software? What did you choose to use?
We all were fluent in DXlog, so we have set up a network among 5 computers, 4 stations. Everyone was logging locally, and then it was distributed to one laptop, which was also then gathering all the QSO lines and distributing it directly to ClubLog for the live stream. So this is also a great feature which we used. So we really reduced the dupe rate. In the end, I think it was less than 3%, 2.5 to 3% of dupes, because all the QSOs instantly were uploaded to ClubLog and everyone could check if they're in the log or not. If not, they worked again. If they were in the log, they just stand by and let others break the pile up and get into our log. So it also big relief here. We just used the local network having a switch with us, also backup in case it breaks. But basically all the 4 laptops use the DXlog through a local network and then distributing to one laptop which uploaded directly to ClubLog. We also did a daily upload to LOTW through our QSL manager, M0OXO Charles, free of charge, because we said our DXpedition is financed. We don't need any money. This is also our policy. We don't want money for LOTW. If you want a QSL card, you can go ahead. Direct one, we want to cover our costs. Bureau will be free. All the sponsors got their QSL cards through the clubs. So our DXpedition was funded in the beginning. We went, everything was paid for, and we didn't want to make money. And it was a big surprise to many that LOTW was instantly there the next day. And I think we made a lot of happy faces around the world with that policy.
And Philip, once you guys were operating, I'm curious how you coordinated everybody's efforts, and were there any surprises that came out of the actual operating?
So basically what we did is we asked ourselves within the team, what preferences will you have during the operation? Tomi and Jamie said, okay, we want to focus on the high bands. We are the high rate guys. We want to run the bands, run the pileups. So we said, okay, go ahead, do that. No worries. So you will operate when the high bands are open. Sven and I, let's say Sven, our CW machine, also wants to run the high bands, but is definitely very proficient also on the low bands. I said I want to do 160 and 80 primarily, which is a 12-hour shift during the night. In the end, we checked on VoACAP how the openings are presumed to be, to find out, okay, it is like it is forecasted. Let's go ahead, make a shift plan. As I stated before, every one of us operated around 17 hours a day, plus minus. So there was definitely a lot of operating time. Of course, there was a day off here and then, or a few hours off here and then, because you get definitely exhausted over the period of 2 weeks operating. We were all very energized. We wanted to make it a big success, so everyone was definitely sitting behind the radios all day, if possible. And so to get back to your question, let's say we had some preferences, though, with the available antennas and the available high power stations, the four high power stations. We definitely had the chance to be flexible and operate the open bands as much as possible.
What will you do differently on your next DXpedition based upon your experience in Guyana?
We came together afterwards to summarize what happened, what was not so good, what we really liked, the pros and cons of the DXpedition, and let's say it is a good company with 4 people, but to have 2 extra definitely is not bad. So on the next DXpedition, we will at least have 2 extra people with us. This does help with the operating time. If we go ahead with 4 stations again, we will have a little bit more relaxed time, which helps with the pileups in the end, to keep focused. But also hauling the equipment through the airports is easier with 6 people, definitely. In detail, we have also the big masts are very long, over 2 meters of length at times, and it takes some effort to get these crews through an airport from one terminal to the other. Once it's in the plane, nobody cares, but getting this to the QTH is definitely a big struggle sometimes. And but we managed it with 4 people. Having it with 6 people will make things easier and not too much exhausted in the end, so we can focus on the pileups. What also could be considered is, of course, on a next DXpedition, which could be on an island, which could be on a beach location, or is within a country where there's no shore around. We definitely need to adjust antennas. We have seen with our setup that our antennas work great on a not shore location. But once we come up with the next location, we definitely need to reconsider what antennas we take. We have a big warehouse, let's say, available of antennas now, but we definitely need to adjust next time, because sometimes you have space, sometimes you don't have space, and then you probably take 2-3 masts less. You take another antenna which performs better, another receiving antenna because you don't have space, or you have much more space, you take a big beverage system. So it's also it's always about the location where you go, and you need to adjust once you know where you go.
It begs the question, what is the next DXpedition on your calendar?
So we have agreed that this is not only a one-time thing. We really liked what we did, and the DX community backed this decision as well. They were quite happy with our results, so we went ahead and had a look once again at the ClubLog Most Wanted list. What is around 100 and up on the ranking, and while speaking to other teams what their plans are, because you cannot go to a DXpedition place within 2 months apart. That's just not fair for the other team. We inquired some other teams what are their plans, so we came up in the end with Victor 7 Marshall Islands as our next target, our next destination in February 2025. And as I mentioned earlier, we will have a beach available, we will be on the shore, so we definitely needed to adjust our antennas there. Some will stay the same, some will not, and preparation phase is going on already.
Well, Philip, I think you've been using the tagline next generation, and that's certainly true from everything I see. The 4 of you have done a great job in Guyana. I love what you pulled off there, and I'm really looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, next generation is definitely our thing. We definitely want to involve the youth. We were really glad to be able to join the expeditions with Elmers around. Now, as we said, okay, Guyana is our first the expedition we want to go on. Without these Elmers, we will have them involved in the preparation phase, but we will execute ourselves. And now we want to go ahead with this once again, with solely organized by the youth. This time we have an average age of 28, if I'm not mistaken. So this is once again a youth, a next generation, the expedition, where we definitely take new youngsters as well with us to share our knowledge, what we have learned in the past. We're getting into an age, I'm slowly getting towards the 30. Already getting older. I had the pleasure.
So old at 30, yes.
I had the pleasure to join many DXpeditions in the past throughout my study period, and I want to share what I have learned throughout the years to younger generations, because nobody will go on the expedition or know how to go on the expedition in the future if we don't share the knowledge. And this is also behind the Next Generation DX website. We want to create basically a website where we share what we do, how to organize the expedition, and how you can get involved.
You're doing great work, Philip. I've been talking to DK6SP. Look for him at V7 in 2025 with his team. Thank you for joining me, Philip.
Thank you, Kevin.